Hello, I'm Sheena Gill with CognitiveCare. On this episode of Early Detect Studios, we are honored to feature Dr. Rajesh Rajpal, Chief Medical Officer and Global Head of Clinical and Medical Affairs for Johnson & Johnson Vision. In this role, Dr. Rajpal leads the integration of rapidly evolving medical and clinical insights into new product development to address unmet needs of patients and eye care professionals around the world. He also oversees clinical trials and the generation of surgical and vision care evidence and serves as the critical liaison to government agencies and to the academic, scientific, and industry communities. He is the founder and practices at the See Clearly Vision Group, an ophthalmology and optometry group practice with multiple offices in the Washington, D.C. area. Dr. Raj, welcome to Early Tech Studios.
Thank you, Sheena. It's an honor to be here.
Your journey from practitioner to entrepreneur to industry thought leader is quite remarkable. In fact, you were the first eye surgeon in Washington, D.C. to perform laser vision correction as part of the clinical trials for FDA approval. It seems that you've been a believer in the disruptive innovation from the beginning, leading the way for improved outcomes in your field. Please share with our audience a little bit about your journey. Tell us about your story from practicing doctor to one of the primary voices in industry for eye care health.
Sure. Well, no, thank you for the very kind introduction. It's really fun being an ophthalmologist. The ability to help people see better, I think, is so gratifying. I think we would all agree that vision is likely considered our most important sense by most people. So I always found that as an ophthalmologist, it was really interesting and satisfying to try to help bring new technologies to the market and ultimately to patients. Because obviously, that's how our patients get the best outcomes. If we can continue to innovate and continue to bring not just new drugs, but new surgical techniques, new contact lenses, for example, in vision, all to patients and help them see better. And what I found as I transitioned from being a full time practitioner to continuing to practice part time, but also going into industry and working with my partners, my colleagues in eye care, both in optometry and ophthalmology, is that everyone has great ideas. It comes from the academic centers, comes from companies, comes really from doctors seeing patients daily. And then patients themselves have ideas on what we can do to improve healthcare in general. And so at J&J Vision, we really do have the ability to impact a tremendous number of people. We're a global company, and it's well known, I think, that over 2 billion people suffer from visual impairment. And it's estimated that about a billion of these could have prevention or care that still has not been addressed. So the care, the ability or the need to deliver better eye care is really, really intense. And that's what's really fun about being in industry and being able to work with so many people that ultimately allow that care to occur. So it's been a fun process. And I think we're going to continue to innovate, continue to see improvements in eye care and in healthcare in general as well.
That's really interesting. And, in this context, I wanted to ask you about myopia. I recently heard that myopia is like the next major epidemic. In fact, in countries like India, it is forecasted that by 2050, something like 80% of the population will have myopia, and similar statistics are popping up all over the globe. Do you agree with this projected trend? What are your thoughts on why this is happening?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is truly an epidemic. It's most significant, as you just mentioned, in Asia, but it's estimated overall that about half of the world's population will be myopic by 2050. And that
Wow.
means that about 1 billion people will have high levels of myopia. And it's those patients with high levels of myopia that end up with the greatest additional eye health concerns, retinal issues or other conditions where it really can impact their vision. And it's children who are diagnosed early that we can hopefully prevent this progression and really allow them to have better vision for their lifetime. So early detection is critical. It's important to make sure then that we have the appropriate treatment options. And I think we're finding that the amount of scientific investigation, the amount of educational material that's coming out, is hopefully going to improve this so that it's at least reduced in its intensity or impact. But hopefully, if we could find ways to completely prevent it, obviously that would be the ideal.
That would indeed be ideal. So, can you share what Johnson and Johnson Vision is doing to help combat the rising levels of myopia now and to help reverse course? And how does that early detection that you mentioned and innovation play a role in helping to improve myopia outcomes globally?
Sure. Yeah. So I think it's important to make sure that we continue to generate new evidence based on really solid research. And J&J Vision has made a commitment to do that. One example of that is in Singapore, where we've partnered with the Singapore National Eye Center and the Eye Research Institute, and we're looking at various treatment regimens that hopefully will prevent the progression of myopia. We have invested in partnerships where we are providing education. We have done this for eye care professionals with a myopia management guide. We're working with professional societies to continue to make sure that this is getting a very broad reach. And then, from a technology perspective specifically, we have already introduced the Ability brand of contact lenses. It's called the AccuView Ability Overnight Therapeutic Lenses that are used for myopia management, and this is available in the US already. We have also introduced the AccuView Ability One Day Soft Therapeutic Lenses for myopia management. These are approved in Canada and they're undergoing clinical trials in a pivotal study in the US, where the FDA has designated this with breakthrough device designation. So we're really making an investment not just on the technology that we think ultimately will prevent the progression, but also in education and research and trying to really find a way to ultimately have a significant impact and not let this be as impactful for our children and ultimately as they become adults.
Absolutely. Great to hear Johnson and Johnson Vision is, on top of this and trying to help reverse the course that we unfortunately seem to be heading for should no intervention be should we not go forward with innovation and intervention to switch gears. So I wanted to talk about cataracts for a moment. Given our podcast theme on early detection, we would love to hear your thoughts on the prevalence of cataracts and risk factors for younger populations. In fact, I think you were recently quoted as saying, with visual needs rising substantially in recent years, eye conditions such as cataracts have been shown to be more impactful at an earlier age. I would love to hear your thoughts on this matter and what Johnson and Johnson is doing about it.
Sure. Yeah, this is another really important topic. As you know for sure, cataracts are the leading cause of preventable blindness across the world. This is thought to impact more than 100 million people around the world. And there are multiple reasons that cataracts are developing at an earlier age. Most of those are related to either genetic predisposition or certain medications, steroids, for example, when they're used for asthma, or patients who are diabetic, or even from trauma. So those are people that will have cataracts at an earlier age than they otherwise normally would, which typically, as you know, cataracts are usually related to aging. And cataracts
Right.
certainly impact vision as it's the natural lens of the eye, which becomes more dense and more cloudy. So we're not getting as much light to the retina. So therefore, we're not able to process vision as well. But the real reason that cataract surgery is across the world occurring at an earlier age in general is our visual needs. So when our vision is impacted and we're all using tablets, phones, etc., that of course are visually demanding and visually sensitive, or driving more at night, or any of those activities where we need better vision, we're finding that patients are noticing that problem at an earlier age. So therefore, since the technology is so good and so available in most parts of the world, then it's natural to have cataract surgery at an earlier time. And certainly from a technology perspective, your question about what J&J Vision is doing, it is really one of our critical components of our overall offering and overall business. We have a suite of technologies. So starting with phacoemulsification, which is the ultrasound technology that's used to break apart the natural lens of the eye, the cataract itself. We have lasers that are used for assisting in cataract surgery. It allows, in many cases, astigmatism to be corrected. It breaks apart the lens as well. And then our group of intraocular lenses go with the brand name Tecnis. This has been available for 20 years and is recognized as perhaps offering the best optics of any intraocular lens that's available. And so we have a suite of products related to various types of intraocular lenses, which is what we implant when a cataract is removed. And that implant makes up for the natural power of the eye. But we have Tecnis lenses that correct for astigmatism. We have Tecnis lenses that can provide for a range of vision between distance and near. And then we have what's considered a monofocal lens, the Tecnis Eyehance brand, which we introduced in the last year, that is also designed to give patients their best vision at distance in general. So really, this whole suite of lenses, plus the ultrasound equipment called Veritas, plus the laser-assisted cataract surgery called Catalyst, are all thought of as really market leading and available in most parts of the world.
Wonderful. So, going back to the theme of the younger population and early detection, what else are you seeing in the very young, even infants? And then the second part of the question is there evidence that social determinants of health in early childhood can impact eye health outcomes when it comes to conditions such as ROP, retinopathy of prematurity, myopia, or other conditions? And in addition to addressing this from what you're seeing here in the United States, we would also love to get your perspective, a global perspective, particularly for low and middle income countries.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so critical that we're not focused just on the technologies that we're developing, but also on how the care is ultimately provided. So I certainly agree with you. I think the social determinants of health are so important. They impact eye health just like they do other aspects of health, and it's most important in early childhood. Of course, as you know, if you have a child who has reduced vision, it affects their ability to become educated at a significant level. It affects their social abilities to work with teachers, with their peers, and it just really affects all aspects of their life. And then you're right; this certainly is most important in low to moderate income families, but also in those countries where that is going undetected. So it's critical that we continue to invest in that infrastructure across the world. And I think it's important that then we find ways to get care to those that need it at an early stage. And a lot of that is really on the ground, making that happen. So we are investing in that. We are contributing to that from the J&J perspective. But also, I think as healthcare professionals, we all need to do it, whether we're helping by going to mission trips, but also more importantly, not just going there and providing care ourselves, but educating our peers in places where that care is not available so they can then continue to provide care. So we're trying to do all of those things, and that's one of the things I think J&J does really well. Really does try to impact healthcare at all levels.
That's great to hear. So Johnson & Johnson Vision has had tremendous innovation momentum in the past few years, as you described a minute ago. And we were curious if you could give us a sneak peek of your innovation pipeline that's forthcoming.
Sure, no, that's always fun to talk about, and that's so enjoyable to be part of. And goes back to your original question of why it's interesting to be a practitioner, but also help in industry to try to guide and work with teams to develop those new opportunities that ultimately, again, provide the best care for our patients and really the best outcomes. So first, we talked about myopia management. I think that's really a critical area of focus and will continue to be. So that's related to the types of contact lenses that will prevent progression of myopia. We're already seeing some of those results and obviously continuing those clinical trials. We have on the vision care side, again, continuing the theme of contact lenses, just introduced a brand called TheraVision. So AccuView TheraVision is a combination of a contact lens with an anti-allergy drop. So it's the first drug-eluting contact lens in the world, and it was recently
Wow.
approved by the U.S. FDA. So this is for patients that have allergies, and when you have allergies, it gets harder to wear contact lenses. So this allows the contact lens to still be worn, and then the drug slowly is released. So it allows patients hopefully to be more comfortable. So we're really excited about that. From the surgical side, I mentioned some of the things already in terms of intraocular lenses that we continue to innovate on, laser cataract surgery, as well as the next generation of phacoemulsification ultrasound technology that breaks apart the cataract. So we're continuing to bring new technologies from that perspective. And then finally, I'll maybe mention our partnership with Janssen, which is the pharma division of J&J, where there is significant effort now on retinal disease. And so multiple products that hopefully will be brought forward. Some of them are related to gene therapy, but retinal disease such as macular degeneration and other aspects of um, retinal care that's needed hopefully will be impacted by those new technologies as well. So we're partnering on that as well.
That's incredibly fascinating. It's exciting to hear this and also just to see the future of your industry. I think it's going to really improve outcomes for populations for generations to come. So that's very, very exciting to hear. So lastly, given Cognitive Care's passion for the intersection of AI and outcome improvement, I just had to ask. In a world where AI and ML are enabling us to find patterns from billions and trillions of data points, what are your predictions for the intersection of AI and ophthalmology in the future?
Yeah, no, I think your group is doing a wonderful job with that, and certainly agree that that is going to be where advances are seen and really impact outcomes. And that's, I think, being seen across all of healthcare, but specifically in eye care, it is one of our main areas of focus as well. And I think it'll make us as clinicians better ultimately. So if we can use that learning to ultimately provide, as an example, better outcomes for a cataract patient, helping them determine what lens implant is the best for them, helping calculate what power is the best, helping determine how to correct astigmatism. This will all allow patients to see better. So we're using artificial intelligence, machine learning to continue to evolve and get better outcomes, I think. But we're also using it to improve efficiency. It makes it better for an office setting, for a clinician, for the entire team to be able to use that rather than doing manual calculations as in that cataract example for again. But it also ultimately will allow better connections. It allows the surgery centers to be better connected to the practices. It allows patients to have better access to their data. So all of these things related to data, related to machine learning, I think are going to ultimately allow clinicians to be better, and it'll allow patients to ultimately have the best outcomes possible.
I completely agree with you. So, on behalf of the entire Early Detect Studios, on behalf of Cognitive Care, I really want to thank you so much, Raj, so much for your time. We really enjoy hearing your perspectives as both a physician and as an innovator. Did you want to have any closing remarks?
No, I just want to express my thanks as well. I think your organization does a wonderful job with this, and it helps put focus on, like you said, early detection, which is so critical. And I think from the perspective of where we're going, partnerships like this will continue to help us again make patients' lives better. You know, that's kind of our mission. We even use the model that we want to help patients see better, connect better, and live better. And I think that applies to all aspects of healthcare. So thank you for having me. It's been an honor, fun discussion, and look forward to continuing.
Yes, so Raj, your comments have given us much to think about and, in fact, much to take action on in global eye health. Your entrepreneurial and your innovative spirit and journey is admirable, and it's one that's going to have lasting impact on the field of ophthalmology. Thank you so much once again. To our audience, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Early Detect Studios. Until next time, be well.